Hello everybody, welcome back to That's crap. Hello everybody and welcome back to the James Allcott channel. It's time to talk championship. We wanna talk championship. Let's get in the championship. I'm gonna talk about championship. We can talk about championship. How can you tell? Because I keep saying it. Because it's a transfer window, I'm going to have a look at some of the players that are performing the best in the championship and the players that I like, basically, and players that I believe are ready for the Premier League. We've seen it so much over the last few years. The championship is a belter of a league, and there's so many talented players within that league. And because of that, I'm not just going to kind of go reel off 3 from Norwich, reel off 4 from Reading. I'm going to go through every single championship club and give you one player that is good enough to play in the Premier League. That's right. If you are a sucker for high quality championship football and you love a promotion story and high level dense narrative, then check me out on Twitch. All championship fans, all EFL fans, all football fans, if you like a good story on Twitch. I am currently in the middle of a football manager save with Queen's Park Rangers. Something's happening here. Last year we did it with FM20. We're doing it with FM21 and you guys are in the game. Subscribers to my Twitch channel have been put into the game this year. So coming along, if you're watching this in the afternoon, I'm probably on Twitch right now. So links in the description. Go check me out on Twitch, hit the follow button, and you can spend the afternoon with me if you do so wish and watch some high quality pippity pop football. I'm managing QPR in that save, and as you guys will know, I am a QPR fan. I don't talk about QPR too much on this channel because it's just something that's quite personal to me. But if there is enough interest, I guess, if I can get 3,000 likes on this video, I think I'm trying to put it too far so it doesn't have to happen, then I will talk about the mess that is the Queen's Park Rangers season so far. So if you do want to do that, hit the like button, and whilst you're there, hit the subscribe as well. Let's get ourselves on our way to 70k. We've been rocketing recently. I'm so delighted with that. So thank you everyone who has subscribed. But if you are new, click that button. Let's get into the video. We're kicking off with Barnsley, one of the most forward-thinking teams in the EFL right now with the way they're playing. And you see that in the results. Really, really impressing in the league so far this season. The player that I'm going to go for, I nearly went for Callum Styles. I love him on that left-hand side. I think he's been brilliant. But I'm actually going to go for Cauley Woodrow. Callum Styles is the player that probably people will look to first, but Cauley Woodrow has been up top for Barnsley, and the goal involvements, 12 goal involvements in 19 games so far this season. And the way that Barnsley plays, it's all about that press. It's all about that press. So many songs in this video. It's all about that press, and he's a very, very intelligent presser. He's got a 100% record from his penalties so far this season as well. The big thing I think with a few of these players, and Barnsley's probably the best example of it, is that some players will work very well in a certain system. And in the Championship, they're going high with the press. In the Premier League, we're not seeing it as much, but if that comes to be over the next year or so, Cauley Woodrow would be a really good backup option as a striker. For Birmingham, it's difficult because they've been absolutely dreadful so far this season. I'm going to go with a performer who's been very consistent over the last few years. Maxim Collins, playing on the right-hand side quite a lot this season. Got Pedersen, who's actually pretty steady on the left-hand side as well. Maxim Collins, a player who's bought from Brentford a few years ago, and I thought it was going to be the kind of catalyst for Birmingham to go and fly onwards, maybe get themselves into the Premier League themselves. It hasn't happened. They brought in another player called Ivan Sanchez, who's actually really, really talented, but the jump up from that creative player to go up and be able to do it, I think that's a little bit difficult. Ivan Sanchez is maybe a good shout, but I'm going to go a bit more boring on this one. Maxim Collins, he can play on the left, he can play on the right. He's technically good. He's been very consistent for Birmingham, one of their best players this season. So I'm going to go with Maxim Collins. Blackburn have got so many good players, and actually a lot of those players are out injured at the moment. They've had a real heartbreak when it comes to that, because I think they would have been flirting with automatic promotion if it hadn't been for that. And they still could go up. Everyone's going to talk about Adam Armstrong, but there's one player, it's about the eye test here. I'm not going to go on the stats. It has to be Harvey Elliott. And of course, he will go on to play Premier League football with Liverpool or whoever else he decides to go to. If, a bit like Brewster, he's not good enough for Liverpool, but I think he could well be. And actually, they're kind of screaming out for that kind of player at the moment. Harvey Elliott, when I saw him play against QPR, he was just unstoppable, and he's so young. I think that's the big part of it. His intelligence. He's taken all the set pieces. He is such a key player for Blackburn at the moment. He's got a big career ahead of him. 4 goals, 6 assists so far this season already. One of the best players on the pitch, and most good things that happen with Blackburn go through him. So I'm going to go with Harvey Elliott. David Brooks on that right-hand side, playing as that inverted winger. He's been absolutely brilliant for Bournemouth. which is what we would have expected. He's Premier League quality already. In my one transfer for every club, I said that he'd be a really good option for Tottenham Hotspur, and I stand by that. He can score goals from driving into the box. He can score goals from outside the box. He can create goals as well. It's a matter of time before he goes back into the Premier League. Will it be with Bournemouth? Quite possibly, but he's probably the best of what is a squad that is far too good for the Championship. On to Brentford, who've brought so many players through the Championship and then sold them on for quite a good price into the Premier League. And it's going to happen again. There's great options for this one. I could go with Ivan Toney, but you know about Ivan Toney. He can't stop scoring goals. But a lot of that comes from the hard work of the team around him. Now, last season, the likes of Ben Rama, the likes of Watkins, made their way and left. But in that season with Brentford, they were quite reliant on that front three. This year, it's got to be about a lot more than that. And you've needed a bit more output from the midfield. And Josh Da Silva, for me, is a future England midfielder if he wants to be, because he's got absolutely everything. He's got the stamina. He can go box to box. He can score a great goal for you, be it outside the box or in the box as well. He's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant this season for Brentford. And the big thing for Brentford is that they signed him to a contract to 2024, which is, I think, is absolutely huge for them in terms of them holding on to their assets and letting them grow and therefore getting themselves into the Premier League. 22 years of age. He's got a massive, massive future. With Bristol City, there's got to be the notable mention for Jamie Patterson, who I think's been brilliant for them so far this season in what's been a bit stop-start. They started off so well, and I think a big part of that was him playing in that sort of those number 8 roles alongside Vyman. Not having Vyman there to kind of make those bursting runs and create that little pocket of space for him has maybe hurt Bristol City as well as his performances a touch. But overall, he's had a really, really good season. Can he get much better? I could see him getting a move into the Premier League. But actually, I'm going to go somewhere a little bit different. I'm going to go for a DMC here. Adam Nagy, who is 25 years of age, a box-to-box midfielder, playing as a central midfielder for Bristol City this year. And at 25, he's got 44 international caps for Hungary already. That doesn't make you a good player, but I think that kind of the maturity and the experience that comes with that at the age of 25, alongside his performances so far this season, means that he's a player who could be ready for a jump up to the Premier League. Cardiff City, who are the Burnley of the Championship. Long ball merchants. Neil Harris has his style of play, and last year it did really well for Cardiff. This year they're struggling a little bit, but there's one player that is absolutely integral to it working, and it's Kiefer Moore. Up top, he scored 8 goals this season. 13 goals Cardiff have scored from set pieces so far this season, but he's come on leaps and bounds, excuse the pun. Christ. But he is a big man and he is a target man, but he can also run the channels as well. He can do a little bit of both. And so I think he really is that sort of ready-made replacement for whatever striker that they want to move on when it comes to the likes of a Burnley. I wouldn't be surprised if teams like West Brom, any of those long ball sides, he would be a really, really good option because he wins his one-on-one duels. He's got confidence now. Obviously, he's been injured, which has been a bit of a problem, but Kiefer Moore is, for a team that plays long ball in the Championship, he is the best player they've got. They're almost a little bit one-dimensional. And going into the Premier League, if it's for a team that plays the exact same style, he's ready-made. He's ready-made. For Coventry, it's going to be Fankati Darboe. The explosive right wing back it's been great for Coventry as they've moved up into the Championship. Came on a free this season, and he's kind of had those building blocks of a player that's inevitably going to make their way into the Premier League. Really good bit of business from Coventry City this. Up and down all day long. So much energy from him as well. And like I said, he's had a really good pedigree in his grounding so far. Being a Chelsea Academy graduate, going to Sparta Rotterdam, getting 28 games under his belt there. Then he comes back and then look, it doesn't work for him at Chelsea and he's released, but as are several Chelsea youth products, and they go on to have fantastic careers. And I think he's going to be one of those kind of players. A very solid right wing back for Coventry City this season. Having had those games, the next step is the Prem. He also qualifies for homegrown status, which is a huge benefit for any Premier League club. Wayne Rooney, is he actually finished? Derby County. Now, we've got to talk about him, haven't we? They've renamed the club after him. It's Wayne Rooney's Derby County now. All I know is I've seen him play a couple of times recently. And it was a joy. Literally the last game, I think I was at Loftus Road. Wayne Rooney played in that game. And he started up front and then he dropped into like the Pirlo role at one point. He literally just went wherever he wanted to. And I've got to say, the quality that he still had on the ball was there for all to see. This season I saw him as well, obviously not live, but watching him, he still was integral to the team. He was a bit of a fulcrum. Hasn't played for quite a while for Derby, of course, because he's been the manager, the caretaker manager. But he's going to come back to play, and I think he'll probably look to play for the rest of this season. And can he still play at the Premier League level? For about 50 minutes? Yeah, he probably can. His set pieces, his vision. The problem you would have is that he would go into a team that's in the lower, reaches of the league, and he would need to do more defensive work. And although he wants to, I'm not sure he's got the legs anymore to get about the pitch, and that's why he's had such a free role, or did have such a free role at Derby. Bielek is another player, defensive midfielder for Derby, that you've got to say is getting close to that level where someone's going to keep an eye on him, and he might make his way up to the Premier League. But we had to talk about Wayne Rooney. Can he still do it? Go on, Sam. Go on, Big Sam. Go buy him. Stick him up top with someone. Give him a floating role and see what he can do. Yes, Wayne Rooney's up to it. Probably not. Huddersfield have actually surprised me quite a bit so far this season, because I wasn't really expecting... I thought they were just going to kind of drift their way down, a bit like a lot of teams do when they come down from the Premier League. And last year, it was a real struggle for them, just about survived. But this year, Corberan has come in, the ex-Leeds man, and he's actually done really, really well. Revitalised quite a lot of the squad. One player that has shone so much more than any other player, though, in my opinion, is Josh Koroma. Had a 3-month layoff. He's on his way back now. I think he might have just come back. I'm not sure. But he has been really, really good. I think it was 6 goals in the first 5 or 6 games of the season. Really, really impressive. Came from Leyton Orient and he was in the conference. Kind of made that step up, and it was maybe a little bit too much. Went out on loan to Rotherham last year and did really, really well for them. And now he's come back and now he's ready. He's gone conference, League One, Championship, and on to the next. It could be the Premier League for him. A great conversion rate from his shots. 32% of his shots are on target. Great dribbler as well. Really exciting talent. It's lovely to see that progression through the leagues. And the next stop is the Premier League. Luton Town, just below Huddersfield Town. Another one, sort of the third one. I guess them, Barnsley and Huddersfield all surprised me, but all mid-table at the moment. But I think that all fans of all of those teams can be quite happy. And there are some standout players for Luton. I think the big thing with Nathan Jones is the amount of different formations that he's changed to this year. Often he was always 4-1-2-1-2. I think that's it. And now he's actually tried all sorts. I think it's about 7 different formations this season. And Kiernan Dewsbury-Hill, the Leicester City player who's out on loan at Luton this year. It was James Justin, you'll remember, last year, who was at Luton, who did brilliantly, is now in that Premier League side, a side that's going for Champions League. Actually, let's say it, they're going for the title. So players have got a pedigree, and it's a good little relationship they've got with Luton and Leicester City at the moment. But this guy, I really, really like him. Love the stamina that he's got, a box-to-box midfielder, and I think he's just learning so much at Luton Town with the different formations that they're playing. He's played as an attacking midfielder for them this year. He's played as that box-to-box midfielder. He's played as a DMC at times as well. Really, really excited about this guy. I think he's obviously going back to the Premier League, but I think by this time next year, we will be knowing that name as a Premier League regular. On to Middlesbrough, I'm going to give you another... On to Middlesbrough, and I'm going to give you another notable mention. And that's going to be Paddy McNair, who I know has been a bit of a joke over the years. I'm sure Premier League fans would be thinking that. But actually, he's really starting to find his feet now. He's been brilliant at Middlesbrough, and he can play at centre-back. He's actually played one game as an attacking midfielder, but he's been predominantly centre midfielder. 4 assists so far this season as well, which shows that he's kind of keeping the ball well. He's getting better as a technical player, because we've never really been sure which position he should really be playing in. 25 years of age as well, so he's young. But he's a man now. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, that's my notable mention. I'm going to go with Marcus Tavernier. The stats probably aren't as good, but in terms of his talent, he is really, really exciting. 21 years of age, plays on that right-hand side, can cut in onto his left, but can also just go for it himself on the right-hand side. Great trickery, willing runner as well. Only 2 goals and only 2 assists, which belies, I think, sort of the quality that he's got and how much of a threat he will be. It's a matter of time, I think, for me with him. And so picking him up now or in the summer would be a smart move for any Premier League club. There can only be one man for Millwall, Jed Wallace. Last season, 10 goals, 13 assists in a team that really did shock quite a lot of us, to be honest. This year, have they reverted to the mean or has it dropped off? Should they have been up there? I'm not so sure about that one, but they were so functional with Gary Rowett and defensively very, very strong. It's down the other end that they've struggled, but Jed Wallace is the best of a frustrated bunch, I would say. The additions of Troy Parrott alongside people like Matt Smith, who just causes chaos a lot of the time, is a really good Championship player, but isn't someone who can really lead the line. Troy Parrott maybe is a little bit too young. Zahor has gone as well and not really done it. So Jed Wallace has kind of been on his own quite often for Millwall, but he's a good, steady player for them. He's been brilliant for them. It's only a matter of time. 26 years of age. It feels like it's now or never really for him if he is going to make that leap up. He generally stays on that right-hand side because he's got that wand of a right foot and he can put some fantastic crosses in, which has been so lethal for Millwall this season. So one of those players, again, I might say this quite often, but would be a really good fit at a team that is quite functional. Maybe a team like a Burnley, like a West Brom, maybe even like a Newcastle United, the way they're playing at the moment. Emi Buendia. That's probably the easiest name that I've put on this list. This year he's been brilliant. Last year, everyone knows about his numbers. And Arsenal fans, yes, he is really, really good. And yes, he is exactly the kind of player that you need to get into your team. Plays on that right-hand side and is right-footed. Often those right-sided players are left-footed and want to kind of cut in. He's not too bothered about that. He's able to kind of ignite the play a lot of the time. And this year, with a Norwich City team that had so many injuries, they really relied upon him and he completely delivered. 7 goals so far this season, 6 assists. The guy's quality, everyone knows it. Arsenal with a £5 million bid, which has been rejected, rightly so. That's absolutely disgraceful in terms of an offer that you want for him to actually go, especially for a Norwich City team that is flying at the moment, has a lot of players that are good enough for the Premier League, and so they should be strong on their asset at the moment. But there's no doubt, Emi Buendia is probably the best player. Actually, we've got some great players coming up, but he's probably right now, this second, probably the most proficient performer outside the Premier League. All the P's for you there. Emi Buendia is decent. We knew that. Nottingham Forest. They're in a funny predicament, but they've got a flabby squad with a load of players that were Premier League quality, aren't really Premier League quality anymore. And also a lot of players that are kind of just slow play down a lot of the time. Like Amiobi, who I like, or Knockout, who I like, but are both players who dribble with the ball and take their time doing it. And so it slows the club down. There's a player that I'm going to go with for this one who I think, look, he's malleable. He's an under-21 England international. And it's Joe Worrell. Great in the air, good tackler. And actually, I think the problems with Nottingham Forest is actually their ability to kind of get through a team and score the goals as much it is to defending them. Bryce Samba, a lot of talk about him last season. That's died down a bit this season. But I'm going to go with Preston North End. Now, in football, I don't know if people know this, but there's a sort of blind spot and it's called Preston. Because there is a player called Ben Pearson who has been playing for Preston for 5 years. His contract's running out soon and he's actually been linked with Celtic. I'll be interested to see if he does go there. But as a defensive midfielder or a centre midfielder who is annoying to play against, but also brilliant at the same time, Ben Pearson is that guy. He's got better year in, year out. For Preston North End, and I loved him 3 years ago. I don't understand why he's not got a move. Maybe it's because he's got a boring name, Piercinho. Change it, then he gets to have a Premier League move. Looks like he might make his way into the Premier League anyway because of the fact that his contract's running out. It's a shame for Preston because maybe they should have cashed in on him, but he was just so valuable to them that they couldn't do it. Ben Pearson is one of my favourite players in the Championship, and he's definitely Premier League ready. On to the Super Hoops. Queen's Park Rangers, my team. Notable mention, Bright Samuel. Absolutely. Good enough for the Premier League? Yes. Yes, he is. I think he's playing within himself. I think he feels like he's quite alone at the moment at QPR. He is the key figure for us and we're relying on him. Is he that kind of player for a team? I don't think he is. I don't think he actually likes that kind of pressure. And I think that's hurting him a little bit, as is the idea that maybe he could have been playing in the Premier League last season. The offers that came in at the time were from the likes of Bruges. So if you want to go to Belgium, fine. But I think it was probably the best that he didn't go there. We probably need to sell him in January just to try and get some money out of him. But we're also in a bit of a relegation battle, which is scary. But I'm not actually even going to go for him. because I think that's obvious. I'm going to go for Seny Dieng, who is our goalkeeper, who's come through after having a great season on loan last year at Doncaster Rovers. He is he's got a David Seaman vibe about him. So calm. You don't really see, with goalkeepers, it gets to the close-up and they're just like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's not like that. He's just calm. He catches it. He's not punching the ball all the time. His kicking's good. He hasn't really made too many mistakes this season. He just is such a calming influence. And he's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant for us. I think teams are linked with him already. Arsenal are already talking about Seny Dieng at the moment. Homegrown, of course, as well. He will be making his way to the Premier League, which is just a great element of what QPR are doing now in terms of bringing players through. But it'd be nice to have him for a little bit longer. Remember the name Michael Elise. 19 years old. This kid. Go on YouTube after this video and search, I shouldn't even be saying this, search the name Michael Elise. 4 goals, 8 assists in 16 starts. The flair that this guy's got, the creativity that he's got. I saw this clip of him where he's on the right-hand side and he's got 3 players around him. There is no way. Literally, if you pause it and go, right, James, how do you want to get him out of that? I would go, well, I don't think you can get out of that. He found a way of doing it. The guy is so exciting. Matter of time. This guy could go to higher levels than Eze. And I know everyone's going crazy about Eze at the moment, but this guy at the age of 19 to be dominating the way that he is, and Reading are playing great football. I think Ajari is great as well, to be honest. But I think this guy's just a level above. Remember the name. This guy is going really, really far. One thing I would say is physically, he needs to fill out a little bit. He's very, very stringy at the moment. And maybe that's it's one of those where you've got to be careful. But I think the big thing as well with him is that he's got a release clause of 8 million quid, if I remember rightly. And so I wouldn't be surprised if a team that's got good finances, which would be lucky in the Premier League, but if it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be in the Premier League. You go and get him now. He's that kind of Brighton player. West Ham would be a great shout for him, but someone with a bit more creativity, but maybe they've already done that with the likes of Ben Rama. Maybe Leeds might want to go for him, but maybe they've got those kind of players as well. Michael Elise, though, is something else. He's something really, really special that we've seen over the years in the Championship. Those players that are just like, wow, this guy's a joy. Michael Ehikwe for Rotherham is going to be my pick. As a defender, his passing is much better than it kind of gets utilised at Rotherham. They're very, very direct as a team, and that's understandable. They've got a low wage budget and they're trying to kind of stick it out and survive in the Championship. And at the moment, they're doing okay with it. Will it keep them up? I don't know, but that's not for now. Michael Ehikwe, though, is a cracking player. I think he'd be a really good sweeper for a Championship team. Look, it's probably a bit of a too big of a call for him to go up to the Premier League at the moment, but he was at Wolves, got released from there and has kind of worked his way through the leagues. Cheltenham, Tranmere, had a season on loan at Accrington, then came back to Rotherham after getting the move there, and has flourished. Plays in a low block, which is the problem for him. He's not really getting to utilise the passing skills that he has got. But he is a good player. Needs to get himself maybe a move to another Championship club, and then he might be able to move onto a Premier League club. Or probably the best way that he's going to do it is through promotion, because at 27 years of age, he's running out of time in terms of that progression of his career, but quite a good, exciting player, maybe playing for the wrong club in terms of his talents. Massimo Luongo. Now, I know you're going to shout at me and go, yeah, you're only saying that because he used to play for QPR, but what I will say about Massimo Luongo is his ability to get around the pitch and to be just not even a box-to-box midfielder, a ball-winning midfielder. I don't think that's a role that has been utilised enough by him. And actually in the Premier League, maybe he's not got enough in terms of his finishing ability. He would always get into good areas at QPR, but wouldn't score enough goals. And we were hoping for that from him. But I always saw him as actually quite a defensive player. The stamina that the guy's got is just incredible. His ability to come out of a tackle and win the ball is huge as well. And so for a team that maybe would play a high press, would be all action, I'd love to see him in a club like that, at a club like that plays in that fashion. Because in terms of having Premier League level qualities, his sort of lung bursting kind of runs and output, alongside a player who obviously was at Spurs and so has good, solid technical ability, he's good enough for the Premier League in that sense. I think he just needs a team that has the correct style for him. A bit like a few of the players on this list. But Massimo Luongo if he's seen as a defensive player, he is good enough for the Premier League. If you see him as something a bit more than that, he's not. Still only 20 years of age, it's got to be Tyrese Campbell. Not because he's Kevin Campbell's son, that doesn't really mean anything whatsoever, but it's a fact I know about him, so I'm going to say it. It's actually about the fact that his first time finishing is lethal. And he's playing for a team that is probably quite functional now. That's what O'Neill's been able to bring in, and it's made Stoke City a much better side. So you need a striker who's going to kind of take his chances. You've got someone like Fletcher who works alongside him and works brilliantly alongside him. But Tyrese Campbell, in terms of his first touch finishing, is really, really exciting. And at 20 years of age, he's got 5 assists so far this season. Play on the right-hand side as well, cutting onto his left foot and shoot that way. But he's got the electric pace that you want to see in a striker. Got a little bit of physicality about him as well. 6 goals so far from 16 games this season. I think he's on his way. He just needs more game time, and he's at the right place to do that. Won't be this year. He could be one of the names next year who really catches fire, scores 20-odd goals, and he's the guy who has to make this step up to the Premier League. When we talk about Swansea, we have to talk about the defence, because they've conceded 13 goals this season. Currently second in the league, they're absolutely flying at the moment, and it's down to it's down to a long period of sustained philosophy in terms of the way that they play. They play great football. They're forward thinking with their management choices and with the players. And the sort of link with Chelsea is just a lovely one for them as well. So many players from Chelsea in this list because they do go out on loan, a lot of these players. And that's the current situation for my pick for a player who will be playing Premier League football very, very soon. Mark Gay, playing centre-back for Swansea. He's been absolutely brilliant so far in a team that sort of highlights just his technical ability in terms of being able to pass the ball. I think when it comes to it being the philosophy of a team, that helps. But he's been absolutely brilliant. Was there last season, got 12 games last season. This season, it's just gone from strength to strength. Reads the game so well. He's probably one of the best one-on-one defenders in the league. He can go left, he can go right, he can play on the left or on the right in a back three as well. This guy's going right to the top. So easy, this one. Ismail Assar, I don't know what he's doing in the Championship at the moment. I'm surprised no one looked to get their hands on him. 22 years of age. Can play on the left or the right. The problem for Watford is that their focus has been so much on the right and Sarr, because they've got no left footers in their squad. They've got a really imbalanced squad at the moment. But he's got 4 goals, 2 assists so far this season. I think really we would be hoping for a little bit more. But look, he has everything. You know, young, great skill, dribbling ability. You saw it all last season with 9 goal involvements in the Premier League. He's just a cracking player. I'm surprised no one's bought him yet. I guess the point is that Watford, you know, as very shrewd businessmen in terms of being a football club, they're expecting him to get them back into the Premier League, and then you've got an asset that's going to cost even more or be Premier League ready. But Ismail Assar, he's good to go. And last but of course not least, Wycombe Wanderers. What a story it's been for them. And Gareth Ainsworth, understandably, has stuck with the squad that got them to the Championship. And that, I think we are seeing, is that this is probably the level for all of those players. In terms of the players that could make that jump up, or maybe have a little bit of enough quality to not get caught out horribly in the Premier League. Look, I am struggling a little bit because it is an ageing team as well, and the best performers are the likes of Akinfenwa, David Wheeler, and this last name on this list, Joe Jacobson. 34 years of age, so he's coming to the end of his career, but he would probably do a job for some Prem sides and you wouldn't notice it, but his age will stop any kind of move happening. So good at penalties, so good at corners, which is a big part of the way that Wycombe play. He's got himself 2 goals this season and 4 assists so far this season. And so he is the best performer, the best player at Wycombe Wanderers. And why not? Get him in the Prem. Secure the bag, Joe. So there you have it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. 1 player from every single Championship team who is ready to play in the Premier League. Guys, Championship fans, let me know of all the players that I've missed. Of course, there've got to be so many. Like I said, if you want me to do an in-depth video on Queen's Park Rangers, my team, then let's see if we can get this video to 3,000 likes. It's a big ask, but who knows? I can tell you what, if you don't fancy hitting the like button, why not hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.